Hello dear students of Standard 9. Welcome to DAV Mall Public School. I am your social science teacher Nitin Pushpatode. Students, today I will take the revision of Nazism and the Rise of Hitler part 2. So let's start our today's online session. Students, first point is the Nazi worldview. Okay, students, what about the Nazi worldview? Listen, the crimes committed by the Nazis were the result of a system of belief and a set of practices. Nazi ideology was synonymous with the Hitler's worldview. Students, according to this, there was no equality between people, but only a racial hierarchy. In this view, blonde, blue-eyed, Nordic German Aryans were at the top, while Jew people were located at the lowest rank. Students, all other colored people were placed in between depending upon their external features. Hitler's Ryan is considered as the most barbaric Ryan in the world history. Okay, students, what about the ideas behind the Hitler's racism? Listen, Hitler's racism was borrowed from the ideas of Charles Darwin and Herbert Spencer. Listen, Darwin tried to explain the creation of plants and animals through the concepts of evolution and natural selection. And Herbert Spencer added the idea of survival of the fittest. According to this idea, only those species survived on the earth that could adapt themselves to changing climatic conditions. These ideas were used by the racist thinkers and politicians to justify imperial rule over conquered people. The Nazi argument was simple: the strongest race would survive and weak ones would perish. Okay, student, the geopolitical concepts. Listen, it's the combination of geographic and political factors influencing country or region. It refers as geopolitical. Student, the other aspects of Hitler's ideology is related to the geopolitical concept. He believed that new territories had to be acquired for settlement and to increase the area of the mother country. Hitler's intended to extend German boundaries by moving eastwards to concentrate all the German geographically in one place. Hence, Poland became the laboratory for this experimentation. It was decided by the Hitler's students, then racial states. Listen, Nazis wanted only a society of pure and healthy Nordic Aryans. They alone were considered as desirable, while other communities were classified as undesirable. Students, Jews, Gypsies, and black living people, okay, were considered as racial inferiors who threatened the biological purity of the Aryan race. Once the captured civilians were being forced to work as slave labor in Nazi Germany, Jews were the worst condition. That means they were surviving in the worst situation. Jews had been stereotyped as cleaners of the streets and lived in a separately marked areas called the ghettos. Okay, students. So this was the racialism of Hitler's. Okay, next point is youth in the Nazi Germany. Students, what about the youth in Nazi Germany? Listen, Hitler believed that a strong Nazi society could be established by teaching children Nazi ideology. So, students, undesirable children and teachers, Jews, the physically handicapped, and Gypsies were thrown out of the school. Yes, students, this was the discrimination with Jew people. Students, Germans and Jew could not sit and play together. Racial science was introduced to justify Nazi ideas of race. Then, stereotypes about Jews were popularized even through math classes and the other schooly subjects. Then, students' children were taught to be the loyal, submissive, then hate Jews and worship Hitler's. That means, students, through the education, Hitler Hitler was providing the values, principles about only Hitler's policy, and just they taught through the education what hate of Jews always. Then students, even sports like boxing were introduced to nurture a spirit of violence and aggression among children. Hitler thought that boxing could make children iron-hearted, strong and masculine. Then student, formation of youth organizations and youth league. Listen, youth organizations were made responsible for educating German youth in the spirit of National Socialism. Students, 10-year-old children had to join Jung Walk. Okay, at 14, all boys had to join the Nazi youth organization. It referred as Hitler Youth. Then, after a period of rigorous ideological and physical training, they joined the labor services at the age of 18. Then students, then they had to serve in the armed forces and enter one of the Nazi organizations. In 1922, the Youth League of the Nazis was founded. When in 1922, the Youth League of the Nazis was founded. After 4 years, it was renamed as Hitler Youth. Okay, students, what about the Nazi cult of the motherland? Listen, in Nazi Germany, young people and even children were repeatedly told that women were radically different from men. According to the Nazi ideology, the fight for the equal rights and the rights for the men and women was quite wrong, and it would destroy society. While boys were taught to be aggressive, masculine, and hardworking, then girls were told to become a good mother and bring up the pure-blooded Aryan children. So students, this teaching was going on through the Hitler's policy education. Then students, women had to maintain the purity of the race, then look after the home and teach their children's Nazi ideology. Students, so this was the work according to the Hitler's ideology. Those mothers who produced racially desirable children were awarded, okay, then given the favored treatment in hospitals. Listen students, those mothers who produced racially desirable children, okay, they were awarded. How? Listen, given favored treatment in hospitals, then concession in shops, then in the theaters and even in the railways. Honors of bronze was given for cross for the 4 children, a silver for the 6 children, and a gold for the 8 and the more. Okay, students. So these were the awards of Hitler's Rian. Those mothers gave the birth of more children. So these mothers were awarded by the Hitlers. Okay, students. So women who maintained the contacts with Jews, then Poles or the Russians were punished or imprisoned to them. Students, what about the art of propaganda of Hitler? Listen, students, the Nazirians used language and the media effectively to describe their activities. They never used the word kill or murder in their official communication, but used euphemism. Students, what do you mean by the euphemism? Listen, euphemism means indirect, it is an indirect word or expression used in place of harsh, unpleasant or embarrassing word or expression. It's called euphemism. So they used this word euphemism. Students, mass killing were called the special treatment. Final solution for the Jews. Okay, students, the selection and disinfections. That means students, how did the Hitler punish to the Jewish people? Listen, students, evacuation mean deporting the people to gas chambers for killing them, and especially for the mass killing at a time. Okay, students, the gas chambers were called the disinfection areas. Okay, so to send in the evacuation chambers for killing the people. So this was the punishment by the Hitlers to Jewish people. Okay, The gas chambers were called the disinfection areas. Okay, students, the role of the media in propaganda. Listen, media was carefully used to win support for the Ryan and popularize its worldview. Nazi ideas were spread through the visual images, films, radio, posters, catchy slogans, and leaflets. Socialists and liberals were represented as weak and degenerates and attacked as malicious foreign agents. Students' propaganda films were made to create the hatred for Jews. Yes, the most infamous films was the Eternal Jew. Which one? The Eternal Jew. It was the most famous films. Okay, so students, Jews were referred to as vermins, rats, and pests. Yes, listen, students. Jews were referred to as a vermis, rats, and pests. So this was the unpleasant and discrimination with Jewish people by the Hitler. Okay, students, their movements were compared to those of the rodents. So, students, this was the life of Jewish people. Okay, students, what about the ordinary people and the crimes against humanity? Listen, many ordinary people genuinely believed that Nazism would bring prosperity and improve the general well-being. Students, however, some Germans organized active resistance to Nazism and suffering police repression and even death. But most of the Germans were passive onlookers and apathetic witnesses as they were too scared to act too different or to protest. Students, but for the Jews, life was altogether different. Charlotte Bardot, an author in her book The Third Reach of Dreams. Listen, students, The Third Reach of Dreams. This book was written by Charlotte Bardot. So once she wrote that Jews themselves began believing in the Nazi stereotypes about them. Okay, students, the stereotypical images published in the Nazi press then haunted the Jews and they troubled even in their dreams. So students, this was the ordinary people and the crimes against humanity information. Students, the knowledge about the Holocaust. Students, what do we mean by the Holocaust? Listen, the word Holocaust from the Greek words holos means whole and kautos means burn was historically used to describe a sacrificial offering burned on an altar. Since 1949, the word has taken on a new and horrible meaning. Listen, students, some of the horrible practices followed by the Nazis had trickled out of Germany during the war, but its full extent was known only when the war ended. The atrocities and the suffering that Jews had experienced during the Nazi killing operations are called the Holocaust. What, students? The atrocities and the suffering that Jews had experienced during the Nazi killing operations. It's called the Holocaust. Okay, students. So this was the story about the Holocaust and ordinary people and the crimes against humanity. Students, from this lesson we learned about the strategies of Hitler and the life of Jewish people. Okay, students, it's time to check your knowledge. Here are some questions as your assignment. Students, you have to write the answers of these questions. Students, in such a way that the revision of this lesson is completed. Students, in the next online session, I will take the revision of new lesson. So, students, till then, thank you very much and have a nice day.